What does Codie Sanchez think the most valuable skill will be by 2030? Folks, I saw a very interesting video where Codie was talking about AI and the disruptions that are coming. And she went on to say that by 2030, the most valuable skill you can have is sales. She broke down sales to be made up of three underlying traits. One, the ability to communicate. Two, building relationships. And three, follow-up. As somebody who spent 25 years in sales, I would add a fourth, and that is the ability to handle stress. When you are in sales, you will likely have quotas. Some of them will be weekly, monthly, and quarterly. And this is where most people break down and frankly collapse under the pressure. But yes, I thoroughly agree with this. I think the ability to communicate both verbally and written is key in the future. It will always be key. The ability to build relationships and or network. Again, one of the ORaaT rules is add 2 new people a week. 3, follow up. And then finally, I will add a fourth, the ability to handle stress. Because again, if you let stress build up and you're missing your numbers, you will just crumble and disappear. We did get some mortgage data yesterday. Again, refis are up 4% week on week, 150% year on year. Olivia and I are obviously part of that. We just went out and extracted multiple 6 figures via a cash out refi. Purchases were down 5% week on week, but up 12% year on year. Markets are now pricing in the Fed moving to 2%. That seems aggressive. At least it does to me. Again, a 2% Fed funds rate means 7 rate cuts between now and 2027. I am forecasting 3 or 4 for this year, so that would be 3 or 4 the following year. But yes, 2% inflation. My question is, why? Is the inflation battle over? Is the unemployment or the job market deteriorating? Or has AI landed and now we have productivity at 5x or something like that? I mean, what is the driver of 7 rate cuts? Saw an interesting article about California real estate yesterday. Apparently 1 in 5, so 20% of California real estate transactions were canceled because of insurance. Yes, canceled because of insurance. That is a unaffordable insurance. Nvidia obviously reported yesterday and frankly landed a tremendous quarter, beat top line, bottom line, raised guidance. You know the drill. This is just what Nvidia does. Even beat the whisper number. They were looking for future quarters to be up 78%. I think they got like 88%. So Nvidia beat across the board. Some Fed speak for you. Fed President Bostic. People are starting to doubt the independence of the Fed. I'm not sure starting is the right answer, but I would certainly think that a lot of people are questioning the Fed as a political animal. Number 2, Fed President Musselman says, it's important to finish the job on inflation, to which I say, I think you killed it. It's dead if you correct for shelter. The job market is vulnerable to increased layoffs. And finally, he sees unemployment stabilizing between 4.3 and 4.4. That's going to be interesting because, again, I think we are at 4.5. We might even be at 4.4. So, again, he is seeing no pain in the job market. Let's hope he is right. Fed President Schmidt went on to say that stable coins are simply Venmo with steroids. I thought that was an interesting analogy. The thing about stable coins, in my opinion, is they are going to be buyers of U.S. treasuries. One of the things that I have been thinking about for years is what happens if, Japan, China, the EU, Australia, South America stop buying U.S. treasuries. Who is going to be the buyer? Well, stable coins is the answer, and stable coins will have an unlimited desire or nearly unlimited desire for U.S. treasuries to work. So pretty interesting. Last thing, Fed President Barkin. One should not immediately jump to the conclusion that people will be displaced from AI. Again, I think it's really interesting to watch Fed presidents talk about AI. I'm going to assume most Fed presidents are, what do you think? Not technical would be a fair assessment. to see them talk about AI at all is interesting, in my opinion. Ken McElroy put out a very interesting video yesterday. Shout out Ken. He talked about surviving 3 economic collapses, which I think are interesting. He talked about the savings and loan crisis from the 80s. He talked about the dot-com crash. And of course, he spoke about the GFC. I do think it's interesting, again, highlighting the 80s because it was very similar to what happened in 2022 when the Fed raised rates. In the 1980s, we lost thousands of savings and loans. They just disappeared. Inflation was 13.5%, rates were 19%, Fed funds rate were 22%, and the unemployment rate was 10% in 1982. What happened? Well, rates shot higher, debt came due, people couldn't refi, and bingo bango, RTC liquidated distressed assets. This is what you and I were talking about 2 years ago. This is frankly what I talked to Ken McElroy when I interviewed him a year ago. This is coming to the multifamily space for the exact same reason. These things were done at a cap rate of 3.5 or 4. It's now 6.5 or 7. The debt is reset. The assets are not worth it, and they are going to implode. The dot-com crash was framed by Ken McElroy as nothing more than a paper-based crash. As somebody who experienced tremendous loss in the dot-com crash, right, starting at $200,000, going to $40K, that was a massive loss, all because of my stupidity and arrogance. I completely own that. But he kind of compared it to what's happening with crypto and other things. This is the greater fool theory. And I suffered from it and lost painfully bad in that era. And then, of course, the GFC went on to talk about pretty much the same thing: short-term debt, unrealistic expectations. And then when the debt broke, catastrophe happened. That, again, is not happening this time in the single-family market. Why? Because everybody's got, or most people have, fixed-rate debt. What happened in the GFC is your mortgage payment went from $1,000 to $3,000, and you simply couldn't afford it. Today, your mortgage is $800, and you are not under any financial stress because renting a similar house would be $2,000. It's just facts are facts. It's not set up the same way. I do want to highlight that there is starting to be movement in the multifamily area. There's a group called Buzz. God, how do you say this name? Buzzoto? Who makes up these names? Buzzoto. Buzzoto Group. They're deploying $1 billion to buy existing multifamily assets on the East Coast. They are going to be focusing on properties who have lost tremendous value that need to be repositioned. This is happening, folks. I'm hearing more and more owners have to give up. Banks are starting to take stuff back, and there will be lots of pain recognized. Again, unfortunately, lots of LPs have lost their entire investment. Lots of LPs will have depreciation recapture, which will suck. You already lost all your money, and then you get hit with a tax bill. That's going to suck. So again, this is just the reality of bad deals coming to market and cleaning out the system. And then finally, weekly claims came in once again at a ho-hum number of 212,000. Expected 215, last 208. Simply said, no stress in the weekly job market yet. All right, folks, that is the daily financial news. Thank you for being here. Don't forget to join school. Watch the ORaaT family reunion year 3. You also have year 2 there if you so desire. You have a 10-week boot camp, buy box deep dive, so much more, plus 10 accountability groups and all of that good stuff. Join school, start implementing what we're doing, and let's have some fun. And of course, don't forget to check out Steadily. They are the sponsor of the daily financial news. And yes, they have saved Olivia and I over $20,000 in 2025. So again, very thankful to Steadily. Take care, folks. Have fun. Have a great weekend. We'll see you Sunday morning at 7:30. Later.